Hi, today I'm going to be reading out of Jeanne Salzmann's The Reality of Being, and I'm going to read number 45. And the title is To Know Myself. It's the first aphorism or first subchapter of the chapter called Staying in Front. Staying in front is wording we use in the fourth way to describe where we are at in relation, where our attention is at in relation to thoughts, emotions, sensations. So to know myself, I'm trying to zoom in, bear with me. My eyes aren't what they used to be. There we go, I got it. All right. Number 45, to know myself. Two kinds of movement share my presence, a movement toward the source and a movement toward life. I need to see and remember that I belong to two levels. I can become conscious only when I feel a reality that is higher than myself. When I recognize that without it, I am nothing and have no force to resist being taken by identification. I'm going to read that sentence again. I can become conscious only when I feel a reality that is higher than myself, when I recognize that without it I am nothing and have no force to resist being taken by identification. Then I can open to this reality and consciously receive its action, be nourished by it, but this requires an attitude that I cannot maintain. Always I return to the feeling of my ordinary I, which does not understand that it must serve. This eye is blind. It believes itself free and always returns to its slavery. When I see my situation, I begin to understand this illusion of I, which is fed by my life force, and to feel the need for a new attitude toward myself. The initial effort is to free my attention from identification, but there is no solidity, no stability. I need to find the effort that will allow the formation of a central core, a more stable center of gravity of my attention. In order for me to remain related to the two levels, my attention must be entirely mobilized and maintained in two directions at the same time. The power of divided energy is my power of attention. We do not value enough the short moments when we are situated between two forces. At each step in remembering ourselves, we encounter doubt. I doubt myself. I doubt a more real part of me. I doubt that I can find help. Possibilities higher than what I know. It is here that I need to be true in the face of the lie present even in my best moments. I'm going to read that again. It is here that I need to be true in the face of the lie present even in my best moments. I have to struggle with doubt until something gives up. Then help appears, which calls me to remain true to maintaining the relation with a higher energy. It is not necessary to come always to an exalted state, only to a level at which I can stay present a little longer, simply remaining above the level of sleep, a little higher, but in a way that has some stability, is itself extraordinary. It constantly jars something in us that awakens. We need to know what we are, either an unconscious slave or a conscious servant. If I could sum up the work in one sentence, at least the beginning stages that may take a lifetime of the work, it's that we need to know what we are, either an unconscious slave or a conscious servant. Our attention has no center of gravity. It is not magnetized by a force that has some authority, some power over it, and continues to run wherever it is called. Perhaps here I see that I am not available because my attention is not available. I am unable to be more collected in myself, more inside, and at the same time to be more outside. So what is required? The inner reality is the source of my life, but I have also an absolute need to project myself outside. If I can see this inner reality as acting like a magnet, I will see the outside as an opposing attraction, another magnet. Then maybe I will understand what attention means. It is an energy that connects me both with the source and with the outside world, and permits me to receive knowledge, that is, to know. We use the word know so much that it does not mean anything. But when we say, I wish to know myself, we are not speaking about acquiring conceptual knowledge, something learned once and for all, then recalled passively. We are speaking of a very intense and active action. After the first shock of presence, of awaking, and coming back to myself, there is a struggle to stay in front of two movements, two levels in myself. With the need for this presence to last, there is a second shock, the awakening of a new feeling, a new wish, a will. In order to continue knowing myself and not disappear, I will this presence to last. The result of effort is always foreordained. It is determined, has to come as a consequence of laws. What occurs is not always what we might expect. This means the effort was not as it should have been. With the right effort, the result will always come in due course. That gives a really good idea, a really good picture of what the struggle is. I've heard people say doing this work that the frustration can be immense. It can be greater than anything you've experienced in your life, because it's without being dramatic, it's two parts of yourself. This is literally the recognition of two beings within you, the person that you are out in the world and the you, the I am, that is in the inner world. And it is so difficult to not sway and stay in one or the other. Retreat, go out, to stay in front, as it were, meaning staying in a center, in a magnetic center, and seeing these two parts of yourself, these two I ams, and holding them in attention, staying in front of them is, I can really only speak of it theoretically. I mean, I can meditate on that. All I can do right now is observe. Sit and observe. Relax. Sit and observe. It's something like the concept of Wu Wei and Taoism. And it really is a waking up, because it's amazing that the unconsciousness of going between the two people, it's just taken for granted. But that is so strange, phenomenologically, to wake up to the fact that you are two different beings. At least two, right? Those two polar opposites of the inner world and the outer world, and to be conscious of that. And there's no morality here. There's no guilt or shame. This is the way we are. We have an inner world, an inner self, an inner I, and there's an outer I. That's life. That's being in the world as we are. But the trouble comes when we're caught in the inner world and we don't understand that there is it's like we've lost touch with the outer self, or we're so caught up in the outer self and we've lost touch with the inner. And to bounce back and forth between the two is exhausting. And if it's not consciously recognized and held with attention, then that can lead to psychological problems or again, exhaustion, mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion, soul exhaustion, soul sickness, as some people might describe it, and in searching for the solution to that sickness in things that aren't really going to cure it in any way. I'm listening to an audiobook called Care of the Soul by Thomas More right now, and I've only just begun, but there are these ideas of kind of going around in my head. I don't think the book said this, but the sun in our solar system does not move around the planets, right? The planets move around the sun. And if we can picture this outer self and this inner self as us, as parts of us, but develop and identify with that sun and be able to let those things rotate around us and stay in front of them, as it were, then that's the goal. And the only way to do that is to recognize that there's something that Beelzebub's Tales calls the law of falling. So the planets are pulled in, right? Their gravitational force towards the sun is what the law of falling is. And so they're on this elliptical pull. Well, the sun is as well, but it's doing that around something that we don't see. It's an unseen greater sun, if you want to call it that. And we must recognize, I don't know, the way Jeanne de Salzmann describes it, I am nothing without it. And I have no force to resist being taken by identification, meaning like, say, Venus and Mars are the inner and outer, forgetting that I oscillate between the two and identifying with one or the other when I am both. I am, but you can't get there with seeing with, excuse my wording, but you can't get there by seeing with your external eyes, with what you see in the physical world. You will just fall for it over and over again. You're caught in the reflection of what you see. So what we see out in the outer world is reflecting onto the inner. And if we think that that's reality as it is, and all that reality is, we're going to constantly be in a state of confusion, or we're going to wake up and just realize, like, I guess this is reality today, and just kind of be drug along on a really wild, bumpy ride and be really aloof. It is aloofness. And there's a center of gravity that's beyond what we see with our eyes and feel with our senses. And in a lot of ways, this is true spirituality. I mean, you can put it in any framework that you want. And I grew up as a Christian, and I was fed a lot of really good information by Christians. I think that I met certain Christians that at times in their life were doing the work, and they were recognizing that their relationship with, God, the Holy Spirit, the Trinity, the Christ, the living Christ in them, was this principle. And it was a surrender. I'm nothing without it. I'm crazy. I keep on doing the same thing, expecting a different result without it. And then it's a surrender, and then it's a constant sitting and waiting. A Christian mysticism which is the cloud of unknowing, and just waiting for the presence to come in. And it's not that the presence is like, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" It's us. It's preparing. It's having ourselves be prepared and ready for that. There's all kinds of things I could talk about. A Course in Miracles is quite a book. It was a book that was channeled by, I can't remember her name at the moment, but it's a thick book. It's like as thick as the Bible, and it was channeled. Close my thing, but it's spoken of as Jesus, and it talks about the ego. And Jesus is saying in A Course in Miracles, the ego thinks that it is the only thing. The ego is like the Gnostic demiurge, where it thinks that it is the highest good, the highest beauty, the all, and it becomes in a lot of ways solipsism, where it's you exist, this whole world exists because of my ego. And a lot of this stuff is beneath the surface. It's not conscious, but it's the way that we operate spiritually, and the way we treat each other, and the way we really have care for each other and for our souls. And the ego is this sort of confused entity that just forgot. It has true amnesia and thinks that it's the only thing that's real, or the only thing that actually is God. And as long as we're in that state and under that spell, we're going to be doing things and trying to reinforce that it is the only thing. And things that take away from that and it basically cause ego death are the greatest threat. And that right there is why this work is so hard. Like, going back to what I was talking about at the beginning, after the end of the reading, it's so it feels so frustrating. The friction is so real, because we have to admit that we have this thing in us, this entity, the thing that is out in the world, the thing that needs to operate. It wants to create the world. It wants to think that it is the creator of the world. And we're in a battle with that, with the greater I am, the animus, what is it called? The axis mundi, or the animus mundi, the world soul. That's what I was trying, the animus mundi. There's a greater I am from which all I ams come from. And without it, we're not. We're nothing. And it's so hard to really. The only way that I can really tell to grapple with that friction is to sit with it, because it's awful. It's awesome. It's all the words that begin with awe, and it's terrible. And like Kierkegaard would say, we need to work this out with fear and trembling. And that's that's not just dramatic phrasing. I'll stop there, because I've said enough on it. But it was a really good chapter by Jeanne de Salzmann. And, I wish everyone a great journey in doing this work. And if you're listening to this and you're like, what is he talking about? And you're curious, look up some of the people that I mentioned, or try to sit for 20 minutes and relax your body, and then just pay attention to your body. There's really nothing more complicated to it than that. Sit for 20 minutes, relax your body, and pay attention to your body. If you're having a trouble maintaining the discipline to do that every day, pay attention to that struggle that you're having, with not being able to sit for 20 minutes and relax and pay attention to your body every day. And if you do have success in doing that, pay attention to your sensations as you're relaxed, and pay attention to your thoughts as you relax, and try to stay in front. All right, I'm signing off. Take care.